What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Inside Man Utd. My name is Rowan Brennan, and thank you once again for joining me. If, of course, you're new to the channel, thank you very much for checking us out. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And, of course, if you are visiting us again, thank you very much for tuning in once again. Today's episode, we just want to start getting into a few of the players that I think United need to be signing. I know the transfer window is over, but we can already see glaring deficiencies in this squad between people being injured, form being lost, attitudes maybe potentially changing, and players looking like they're going to be out either for legal reasons, ability reasons, attitude reasons. There's always a bit of a circus going on at Manchester United. So there is a plethora of players looking to either force themselves out through stupidity, a lack of form, or an inability to stay fit. So it does look like Ten Hag is going to have to make some major changes to this squad, despite already having done so far. We are in the middle of an international week, so we've seen some of our players doing well. Scott McTominay banging in another goal once again against San Marino, in fairness, but he seems to just keep doing it for the Scottish team. So fair play to him. And again, possibly giving Ten Hag some selection headaches when everybody's back from that international break. Looking ahead in this episode, I'm going to be looking at 4 players I believe United need to be keeping a very, very close eye on in order to improve the way we play and possibly to change up the formation that we take in either for the rest of the season or into next season. So let's get into it. First up on the list is, of course, a defender. If anybody has been paying attention to Manchester United since the kickoff of the season, we have been absolutely ruined in defence with injuries, players' lack of form. It's been an absolute disaster for Ten Hag and our back line, with our 2 left backs out in Luke Shaw and Tyrell Malacia, both Varane and Martinez having to come off in the game against Arsenal. Varane never really being able to be relied upon with his injury record. He started to kind of take a little bit more consistency from last season, but again got injured towards the end of the season, and he just simply cannot be relied upon. Very similar to Martial up front, but at least when Varane is on the pitch, he plays well, which Martial I don't think can really be attributed to anymore. So United are in bad need of defensive reinforcements. It was very clear with United during the January or the summer transfer window that a centre back and or a more adaptable player that can play right back and centre half like Benjamin Pavard was certainly on the agenda, and United simply could not get the deals done because we could not shift the players that we needed to get rid of. Of course, with Axel Tuanzebe moving to Ipswich, Brandon Williams going to Ipswich, Erik Bailly now being sold, Harry Maguire being surplus to requirements, with Varane being constantly injured, Martinez has now picked up a couple of injuries recently, and with Lindelof now being 30 years of age and not really being seen as someone who's going to be a bedrock and starter for United, a very, very capable stand-in, but someone that is not going to be starting. I think it's quite clear United are looking for a first-choice centre-back to probably and quietly, gently push Varane to the side, as he just cannot be relied upon. First up is Jean-Claire Todibo. The Nice centre-back, French, looks like the natural successor to Raphael Varane, a right-footed centre-half at 6'2". Some places say 6'3". He's had a very strong and breakout season at Nice in Ligue 1. Catching the eye of many of the biggest clubs around Europe, Jean-Claire Todibo is a very good ball-playing centre-half. He's very much on the front foot, very progressive, likes to get forward, and can carry the ball out of defence very capably. He's got some pretty interesting statistics. So he's made an impressive kind of 68 passes per 90 at a pass completion rate of 88.5. He made 4.8 progressive passes. For those who don't know what a progressive pass is, that is being able to carry and dribble the ball 5 yards or more in the opponent's half towards the opponent's goal. So being progressive. So he's made 4.8 progressive passes and 4.3 passes into the final third per 90 minutes last season. But an area he does need to improve upon is his aerial ability. Although he is tall, his aerial duel win rate is only around 57%. That's 20% less than Varane, standing at 77%. But of course, you can teach this. The most difficult thing is teaching a defender or a centre back, particularly a tall one, how to be good with the ball at his feet. And that is certainly something that he is naturally good at. I think trying to get your head on the ball underneath, maybe trying to build a little bit of muscle onto the frame and being a little bit more dominant on the edge of the box is something he can learn, especially from Lisandro Martinez, who is exceptionally good in the air at only 5'10". I think there is a lot of lessons that can be taught from Lisha towards Jean-Clair Todibo in that department. So he's a bit of a rough boy as well. He got 3 red cards last season, but to be honest, I kind of like a guy who likes to get stuck in, and sometimes you're going to get a few cards. It's definitely better than a shrinking violet who you have to kind of teach to get stuck in. So it's easier to teach a hard man how to be soft as opposed to a soft man how to be hard. So I think that's something that we can kind of smooth the corners on with Jean-Clair Todibo. He was very closely linked with United during the summer. We couldn't quite get the deal done due to not being able to get rid of our more high-priced defenders like Harry Maguire, and it does look like we might try and make another move in January. God knows reinforcements are badly needed, and we've seen that a couple of injuries can really put your backs up against the wall. So Jean-Clair Todibo looking like probably the number one target that United are going to go for, having missed out on Disasi, Kim Min-jae, Benjamin Pavard. It now looks like Jean-Clair Todibo is next on the list. Secondly, up in those defensive positions, certainly a player that looks more like one for the future is one Jarrad Branthwaite. The Everton player was on loan at PSV last year in the Eredivisie. He had a great loan spell and managed to bag himself a Dutch Cup in the process, and running very close to winning the Dutch League with PSV, unfortunately finishing second, with Jarrad playing 36 games and even bagging himself 4 goals. Jarrad was also very successful with the England under-21s, having come away winning the tournament. He was a bedrock in the centre of that defence, certainly being looked at as one of the bright defensive stars for the next crop of England stars coming through the ranks. This would certainly fit into the profile of the type of player that Erik ten Hag is looking to recruit at 20 years of age. He might be a little bit raw and a little bit green to be coming in as a starter. I think that's safe to say, but definitely someone that we could bring into the ranks, either to play as backup or to again go out on loan. But it does look like United are looking at him. There's been strong reports that him and other top clubs in England and around Europe have been keeping an eye on Jarrad Branthwaite, especially given how well he did in PSV. But again, as we have seen plenty players that do well in Eredivisie, it doesn't necessarily translate when they come over to England. But he has cut his cloth in the English leagues and decided to go abroad and did very, very well. He still is quite young, but would he be brought in as well as Jean-Clair Todibo in the same window, or maybe in the summer? I think it is likely. United have lost a lot of defenders. They want to get rid of more, and it looks like these could be the 2 top names on the list for Erik ten Hag in the defensive positions. An exciting youngster with Jean-Clair Todibo at the age of 23, looking to kind of emerge and present himself as a starter for an elite club. They could be 2 very astute purchases in the very, very early stages of their career. I think they could be great additions to the team and welcome additions to a defense that sorely needs reinforcements and a little bit of youthful exuberance, and to bring a little bit of excitement to the fans on what these guys could do next in their career. In the forward positions, it does look like United are going to have to bring in some reinforcements with everything going on currently with the team, with Jadon Sancho, with disciplinary problems, Greenwood, disciplinary problems, Anthony, the jury is still out with disciplinary problems. United are facing some real problems in their attack, especially with Anthony Martial now just looking like a shadow of the player that we bought all those years ago. He seems to have lost a yard of pace. He's not able to turn with the ball as quickly, dynamically as he used to. He just does look like a spent force, and I don't think we're ever going to see the great form that we had seen in years previous ever emerging again. So that's 4 players potentially out of United's forward line. You also might notice recently that there has been a reversion back to the old retro 4-4-2. Of course, modern tactics have shown a 4-2-3-1, a 4-3-3, 4-1-4-1, and the 4-4-2 of old seems to have disappeared, but it is back with a bang. I could make an entire video on why, but just to give you a very brief rundown. 4-4-2 is now in vogue because it allows you to put pressure and to initiate those pressing tactics on teams with the ball and not leave yourself as exposed. In a 4-3-3, the top striker would then press the centre half to then move the ball out wide to force a press. Then the right side forward would then press that wing back to try and push them into the corner, and then players from midfield would join to try and stop the ball from getting out. The problem with that is that if you do commit those players into those corners and they manage to break your press, you are massively exposed in defense. There's a big gap behind you. And if they do manage to beat that press, there is a very good chance that a good goal scoring opportunity is going to be created. However, with a 4-4-2, when you've got two players up top, one player who presses the striker, the other striker will stay on the central defensive midfielder. This then puts the ball out wide once again. However, fewer players are needed to press and be committed from midfield. So while you can still press, maybe still not as effectively, it does leave you less vulnerable to the counter-attack. So 4-4-2 is now back in vogue, and as a result, I am hoping to God United bring in a second striker that would actually be playing. 4-4-2 is now being used at City. We see Julian Alvarez. Pressing teams do now like a 4-4-2. It does suit a pressing style of play. Arsenal are doing, City are doing it, Barcelona are doing it, Atletico Madrid are doing it. 4-4-2 is back. So what kind of players do I think United need to bring in? First and foremost, and who we're being linked with most at the moment, is one Marcos Leonardo, a 20-year-old Brazilian player who's currently playing with Santos. He has 51 goals in 149 games, or it could be 49 goals in 151 games. I've got that a little bit mixed up. However, still pretty similar. It's 1 in 3, and he's got a few assists in there as well to boot. A very exciting player. A lot of players are looking, or a lot of managers are looking at him. Jose Mourinho at Roma has been very tightly or closely linked with the player during the January transfer window, but the move did not happen. It looks like Erik ten Hag is very, very keen on the player. He's a very exciting talent that is emerging at Santos, and it looks like a fee of 25 million could be enough to secure the player who looks to be the next exciting attacking talent to be coming out of Brazil. The second player, and my top pick, not only because I'm an Irishman, but because he's just a fucking good player, it is Evan Ferguson. The Republic of Ireland international is now emerging as one of the most phenomenal young strikers, not only in Ireland, but in the Premiership. And having been given a few games last year at Brighton, he shone very, very brightly, scoring key goals and showing himself to be far more mature than his years would have you believe. A very big lad, tall, very strongly built. He does fit the mold of those kind of lone strikers that we see in Harry Kane, Erling Haaland, Didier Drogba, who are able to be bullies, but he's very, very good with his feet. Great in the air, can score with his left, can score with his right. He has then shown an incredible ability to take a game by the scruff of the neck. Brighton and Newcastle, kind of this battle of the new emerging teams. He goes ahead and bangs in a hat-trick. That is the form of a player who's not going to be shining brightly and then fading even quicker. He is here to stay, and he's not going anywhere. There is talk about England trying to snag him as well. Keep your feckin' hands off him, please. You already got Declan Rice and Jack Grealish. However, I think they're English born. They were playing for Ireland because they didn't think they could get into the English setup. Look at them now. But Evan Ferguson is very much an Irish lad, Irish accent. His mum is English, but he did say, if I ever did play for England, my old man would never speak to me again. So it does look like he's going to be staying put with the Irish international team. Thank God. He will undoubtedly be getting a move. He's going to be the next expensive export out of Brighton, that I have no doubt. They are just absolutely churning out these players. To be honest, I think United should just bypass all these expensive players and just buy Brighton's recruitment team or scouting team for a few million and just get these players coming directly into us. But it does look like Evan Ferguson is 100% going to be the target of multiple bids from all of the biggest clubs across the UK and no doubt Europe this coming summer. He's going to play a very prominent role with Danny Welbeck probably taking a step back and allowing Evan Ferguson to blossom into the player that I'm sure he is to become. João Pedro was brought in by Brighton for 30 million. He did find himself on the bench in the last game, however, with Evan Ferguson starting and getting to keep the match ball after banging in a hat-trick. He is an absolute titan of a player, and there is talk that he could be worth 100 million. Who cares? Pay the money, just like United did with Rooney, paying a huge amount for a very, very young player. We certainly got our money's worth out of that one, and I would have no hesitation providing 100 million euro for a player of Evan Ferguson's caliber. If we've paid 72 million for someone like Højlund coming from Serie A with only 9 goals to his name, who does look to be the beans, he played very, very well in the short amount of time he played against Arsenal. Evan Ferguson has shown a lot more in a league United obviously occupy. I think that 100 million would be very well spent. And if we could play 2 up front, fantastic. But if it does mean competition for Højlund to see who gets that starting place, the more the merrier. We've got Julian Alvarez and Erling Haaland up front for Manchester City. You need that high level of competition and that hunger and ability to make these guys want to compete, play harder for the team, and make sure that they get to secure their place in that starting 11. So they are the 4 players that I think United will be most closely linked to and will most likely go for, if not in January, certainly in the summer. We've got Jared Branthwaite, we've got Jean-Claire Todibo, Marcus Leonardo, and finally, Evan Ferguson. God, I hope we get Evan Ferguson. That is it for today's episode. What are your comments? What are your thoughts? Who else do you think United should be going after? Or what are your thoughts on those 4 players themselves? Of course, as always, hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.